What do you want the world to know about Silas?
Well, about Silas is he's a boy just like every other boy in the world. He loves friends. He loves people. He loves his family. He loves his dogs. He loves loud noises. He likes being included. You know, he likes it when people at school come and say hi to him and play with him. He's actually a pretty popular kid at school, and he really loves it when his friends they come and say hi and hang out with him.
How old is Silas?
He's 10. Silas is 10.
If a parent wants to teach their child who's about 10 years old to be friends with Silas, what should they tell them?
I would say that I would start with saying it's okay to look. It's okay to stare. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to talk about his wheelchair. It's okay to talk about things that make him different. And I think we learned that education usually is what breaks barriers for children especially. And so I think it'd be easy just to say, hey, why don't you go say hi to him?
How do you feel when you're at home with your family?
We love being home. I would say calm. We've been told that our home is very peaceful. And so we're proud of that people could come in here and just be like, yep, it's a home. So it's like a place to belong.
What's it like being Silas's mom?
He has taught me to be selfless, and to stop and pause a little bit more in life and really appreciate all the small things. So I think as a mom, it's easy to get caught up in life, but Silas just causes me to stop and think about the simple things that bring joy.
When somebody meets your family for the first time, what do you hope they think?
Look at the love. Look at the love they have. And I hope that when they see us, everybody worries about looking perfect. Everybody worries about kids behaving. Everybody worries about how they look and all these things. And I think for us, we just want people to look and say, you know, they're people who love and accept. And while their family's not perfect, if anybody could define perfection, you know, that there's a family that loves and gets up with purpose every day.
In what ways will Silas communicate?
If he likes your voice, he will look for the source of the voice.
Hey, Silas. I came here to be your friend. My name is Chris. I'm really happy I get to spend some time with you today.
Well, he's looking at you, so that's a big thing. And when he finds someone boring, he will not look at them and might be tempted to pretend to be asleep. Isn't that right?
Does he ever do that in school?
Oh, yes. Quite frequently. Yes, when he does not want to participate, yes.
To me, that's like a sign of intelligence. And
It
just
is
shows...
absolutely, he's very picky with his people, but he knows good people, don't you? Say know good people. So I would just say his face is very expressive. His eyes are very expressive. Yes, where's your friend?
Hey, hi, Silas. Thanks for looking at me. I'm glad I don't put you to sleep yet. What is Silas's diagnosis?
Agenesis of Corpus Callosum. The Corpus Callosum is the nerve pathway that connects left and right hemisphere in your brain. So the agenesis is simply the underdevelopment or non-development of that. But then also with that, cerebral palsy and epilepsy, which are the more commonly known diagnoses. Cortical visual impairment, hearing impairment. But like I said earlier, I really think that there are sometimes really standard tests that would say this is this or this is not this way. But I think because Silas is so unique in how God made him, I think that he has his own test. And he shows us every day that he can see. He shows us every day that he can hear in ways that the test would say he couldn't. So part of our journey, my journey, especially my husband, is much more graceful with it. It's just dealing with the worry. Because it's the worry of the unknown. His diagnosis in particular, he said he could be typical or just have a couple of differences or could be totally impacted. And our Silas is totally impacted. So it was full of worry.
Another fact about me is that I love making new friends. and it always brings me joy to be around people like you, to form a new friendship, and share good vibes. Can you talk about the importance of people communicating directly to Silas?
Sure. So we tell a lot of people that Silas's world is as big as we all make it. And because he's non-mobile, he sits in his chair at school or in a different seating arrangement, and he just sits there. And if nobody interacts with him directly, then he just sits there. His world is as big as we make it. And so it's really important for people to approach him, again, because he's a person and he likes to be interacted with. He just doesn't interact with people the way other people interact. And I think it's really important that we can take the first step and approach and just let them know that we see them. I think that's a big thing, is just let them know that they're seen and that we care and that they're valued.
And it's always been my belief whenever meeting really anybody to what in the educational field we say presume competence, which means go into that interaction believing that person understands you and is capable of having a meaningful interaction.
Yes.
And that's why I think it's important to talk directly to you, Silas, to have a conversation. But can you add on a little bit why it is important to talk directly to a person and go into that interaction believing they can understand you?
Yeah, I think it adds value and depth to conversations. And again, when you don't receive the response that maybe you're used to receiving, I just think you pause. It's important to pause, and it's important to give them time. And it could be a very subtle response. But I think that not expecting a particular response, but rather just being there with them and acknowledging that they're listening and that they're paying attention.
And I've learned that when you do presume competence, it makes you talk to the person directly. It also changes your body language. Like, I'm leaning in more right now.
Exactly.
It changes your tone. It changes the way you make eye contact. It changes little things about communication that are subconscious that we don't even control knowingly, that you, Silas, you're perceiving, even if I'm not intentionally doing it. When you do presume competence, that's why it's important.
Yes.
Right, Silas?
That's right.
I hope that everybody who meets you understands how great you are, talks to you. Tell me about the type of care that Silas requires.
So Silas is a total care kid. So he requires us to we have to feed him. He doesn't feed himself. His diet is pretty specific. He's allergic to a lot of different things, and so we make all of his food here at home. So we make sure he's fed. He, like I said, as a total care, if we put him on the couch, that's where he is. So he requires us. We have to make sure that we move him. We move his arms. We move his legs. We have to make sure that he doesn't sit in one spot for too long, or else his body will get sore. He requires bathing and help with toileting, and he, we have to give him breathing treatments a few times a day. He's got this really cool, tactical vest that we plug him up to, and it shakes him all around and helps to break up because since he doesn't move for the most part himself, we have to make sure that his body moves to help break up so nothing settles in his chest. He's not a difficult kid. He does require little things, but a lot of kids do, so that's okay.
When he was 1.5, he was diagnosed with infantile spasms, and it was terrible because it was very subtle. We weren't sure what was happening. We had to more frequently go see the neurologist. And he had to have a really aggressive form of medication, so it resulted in shots in his legs that made him swell up because of the steroids. And all of it was in an effort to reduce the inflammation in his brain. And it was a lot of doom and gloom because it was, if you didn't control the infantile spasms, it was going to be permanent damage and regression and just all kinds of things. So we knew that it was important to get them under control, but it caused us to have to meet with our neurologist more often. And so we had gone in for a follow-up, and he said, our neurologist said, oof, looks like you have a lemon here. And I paused in much disbelief, and my husband, I remember, put his hand on my leg and was like, it's okay. It's okay. And I sat there with that, and he followed it up with a little chuckle and said, you got to keep bringing him in for tune-ups. but I took it very personally. And for months, I struggled with it because I was already struggling with, what if he never walks? What if he never talks? My husband graciously says, but we'll love him. You know, taking the pressure off of the things that I thought we needed to achieve. But back to the neurologist, I struggled for months, and I thought, really? Like, another human would call another human a lemon? Like, that's the worst, I think, thing you could say. Years later, I was visiting a friend in the PICU, and I see the same neurologist who I vowed to be friends with, because I thought, the thing is, I have to respect him. He's doing this job that cannot be an easy job, but I just had a hard time getting over the comment. But I saw him, and he had just visited a family who he had to pronounce their baby dead, that his brain was not functioning anymore. And he came out and he did his job, and then he came out and he saw me and he greeted me and he asked how Silas was. And I thought, wait a minute, this same guy who I gave such a hard time to, he was trying to be funny. It just wasn't. If he can do a job like that, like devastating, and then come out and be kind, he deserves my respect, even though they're not going to say the right thing all the time.
I love that story and the mentality you took away from it. I do agree that a person shouldn't be defined by one bad thing they say, but I also agree maybe we could have like a general rule that no child is ever referred to as a lemon.
Yes. However, if you notice, in my house, I keep lemons, and my husband is growing me a lemon tree because it's a visual reminder to me. There's going to be hard days, and I have the choice. Am I going to look at it and be bitter? Am I going to hold a grudge? Or am I going to go, I'm going to make this sweet, and I'm going to find the joy? So we have lemons around the house.
You said that you want people to know it's okay to look at Silas.
It is.
Do a lot of people do the look and look away real quick?
I think that we see that. It's not usually with children. It's with adults. I think my wife and I, and I think a lot of people experience when you're a child and you see somebody that's different, and you can't help but stare because you're curious. Curiosity is a big thing among children, and oftentimes parents will see that, and then they don't want to be rude, so then they tell their kids, well, don't stare, right? Or they'll point and they say, well, don't point. And you say, they'll want to ask questions like, what's wrong with him? And while it may come across for some people as rude, it for us, it's like kids are curious, and it's our job as parents and as to educate. We want kids to know that it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to see something and be curious. Because like I said, when you educate, then you kind of break down the barrier.
I think when we teach our kids to look away, a lot of people do that because I think they don't want them to stare. They don't want it to be uncomfortable. But what that communicates is your child's not worthy of my attention. And so I just think it's so important for there to be that, even if it's an eye contact, if it's a, hey, you're here, a simple hello, or like I said, a really just a purposeful compliment. It's so important to give them and to teach them how to interact, because it lets them know that your child is seen, that your child is important, that your child is valued, just like their children are.
Is it also okay for people just to be quiet and be with Silas?
Mm-hmm. His sister absolutely loves. That's one of her favorite things. Is she just crawls and snuggles next to him and might read, might watch a show with him, or just be next to him. Yeah, they really like that. Yeah.
It sounds like any efforts to be Silas's friend are appreciated by both Silas and his family.
Yes, exactly.
In what ways do you bond with Silas?
We love to sit just like this and watch baseball. We watch baseball games on. We'll pull up games on the TV or something like that, and we just sit and watch games. And that's probably a big thing that we do. Sometimes we have a lawnmower and a wagon, and we'll put him in when it's nice outside. We'll put him in the wagon and pull him around. But most of the time, it's just sitting here on the couch and enjoying each other, and like I said, and just participating. He really likes to sit and watch games with me, so that's a lot of fun.
If I were to ask Silas, well, what do you think about your life? I think he would say, I'm loved. and I'm happy and I have friends and I have a great family. And so then I backed off of all the expectations and the pushings and the I just felt all this pressure, and then I backed off of it because I thought at the end of the day, if I can make him smile and he can be happy, that's what this should be about.
It's been a joy. It's been hard, but it's been worth it, and I wouldn't change. I wouldn't change anything. Silas, I tell people all the time, Silas he saved us from a life of selfishness, and I mean that. We do not have to worry about fitting in with anybody in particular. We do not feel like we have to meet someone else's standards of anything. We can just be a family. We can be ourselves, and we can use the strength that Silas has given us to impact other people, and that's what we do. So it has been a wonderful 10 years.
I had a wonderful time with you today, Silas. Thank you so much for spending a few hours with me. I'm really happy we get to be friends today. Thank you for spending some time with me. Silas is now 10. If you could go back in time to when he was just born, what piece of advice would you give to yourself?
Breathe. I would say it's okay. Things are going to be hard, and it's okay. He's okay. And that all he needs is for you to love him and to not worry about when something doesn't go the way you think it should, or if he's not hitting a milestone. It's okay. Like, it's okay to let him be himself and just accept him the way he is.